institutions just don't get born. There's a reason for, there's a background for something. So India Vision Foundation ki background kya hai? That is in part 1 of this film. Then we'll show you what India Vision Foundation does, so that you can connect the cause and effect. And the turning point of India Vision Foundation was when I got the Ramon Magsaysay Award in 1994. Because this is where the award was dedicated to the founding of India Vision Foundation. But what led to the reform, to the award of 1994 is part 1. And then when the foundation award, the award came, it was dedicated to India Vision Foundation, and it continued, it's consolidated and also grew. So that's how this is in part 2. So we will, within the time frame, I'll show you the quick, move the film quickly for you. Not the film will move at its little pace, but also show you the slides as it goes. All right, so you are entering now the Tihar prison, this beautiful part of our archives. This is how it was. When I took over, friends, inside the prisons were 10,000 prisoners. They did not know when it was day or when it was night. None of them were allowed wristwatches. So they didn't sleep at night. They kept awake. It was like a human zoo. When I first visited the prison, it was a human zoo. And everybody was shouting whoos, like the zoo sounds at night. It was a vulture culture. It was like if somebody dies inside the prison, a judicial inquiry will happen. That means the vulture will come to pick up the dead body. It was like a vulture culture. And this is how my office looked like. When I first joined and I sat into this office, since nobody was sitting as Inspector General in the prison, the rats were finding me as an intruder. And that's how the rats were there. This is how inside milk was being adulterated. This is what has happened from inside the prison, as was reported to me from insiders. They have drawn this, not me. This has been drawn by insiders. This is the way the children were, which India Vision Foundation finally took over. They were like little monsters. They only knew how to play with insects, or go after cats, or pickpocket each other, or speak the 302, 306. They knew exactly the way the courts speak, because these children were not into any school, and they all had come with their mothers who had committed the offenses. So children and mothers were staying together in one common barracks, which I'll show you gradually. But they were all playing. This is all reality of the time when I took over, as reported. This is the way smuggling was also going on hugely. That in books, when the visitors came, the books were, and this is how the tobacco and drugs were coming. I'm going to give you a sample only. It's a quick sample. And this is how the children were. This is one of these children called Chandni. I just remember this girl, this little child. That this is how they were living, and these are the gates behind which they were living. What we did. So I'm giving you a short background of what existed, which I experienced. This is what became, as we emerged, it became a model of 3C model. It was collective, corrective, community-based. You remember how everybody was outside the system, and they were surrounded only by warders and head warders. The government, the DIG officers were all outside the prison system. They were all only looking at it as a vulture culture. But this is what changed. The vulture culture changed to this. It became a ship in which now everybody was working together, collective, corrective, and community-based, called the 3C model. I'll explain to you as it goes. This is how an inmate drew, how everybody's at work. Nobody's free, everybody has a goal, and the ship sailing together. There's no vulture in this ship. So it was a vultureless, non-exploitative system where everybody had something to do and something to look after. This is how our youth programs began. We also had the youth prison, and this is how we start to work with them. All prisoners, collective, corrective, community-based, meant the educated prisoners were now made into panchayat systems, and to which they were teachers. and they were being regularly briefed by Mr. Sunil Gupta, who was the deputy superintendent at that time. These are all graduates who had to become teachers. This is how we were running regular education classes for all. And these school bags were donated school bags coming from schools outside, used school books, but everybody was according to classrooms of their need. This was like an English language class. All those who wanted to learn English. This was a Nigerian prisoner who was taking that class. This was a French class, which was the foreigners wanting to learn French. And the French material was given by the French embassy. This is how women's education programs began. This is how adult literacy programs, see, age was no bar. This is how yoga came in. And this is how yoga continued. There was a yoga hour. We were ahead of the time of the Yoga International Days. Skills training program. Object was everybody learning something and not waiting to get out. But, of course, go out, but go back learned. And then skills training programs, as I explained to you. Women were at work, and now we were exporting this work. Most of them, women were at work. And we were even doing fashion designing inside the women prison, as you saw, within the same premises, within the same budget. There were no budgets for any one of this work, friends. It is all community-driven. That's why it's collective, community-driven. Collective, community-based program. This was not budget-based. It was all people-based. These were the children. See, these are all borrowed chairs, all donated chairs, all came by donation. Many children were born inside the prison. This is how we started to celebrate the days with them, schooling for them inside the prison. This within the same premises where they were monsters, now they were singing these songs. And then inside the prison, along with these children were coming from outside the prisons to perform. And now we were calling it Tihar Ashram. Nowhere is it called Tihar Jail. We called it Tihar Ashram. This is how music was introduced. These are all foreign prisoners. We brought in guitars so that they can play. One of the story I remember is, I got them a guitar, it was somebody's birthday. And I was on a round in the prison, and he was crying and he was missing. So I said, what gift do you want? He said, ma'am, I'm a musician, I'm missing my guitar. And that's how a guitar was gifted to this prison, and this class began. We celebrated all festivals, this was Christmas inside the prison. All these days, this was a joker inside the prison. You see, in the prison, you have a society. We brought in 1,000 meditation program called the Vipassana meditation program. 1,000 prisoners who sat together in meditation for 10 days of total silence. And this was created history inside the world anywhere where the largest meditation program was held, called the Vipassana meditation. This center is still running inside the prison. This is how it looked like. We gave them all, this is how they can only speak to their teacher. Now comes the birth of the India vision. This was important for you to know how was IVF born, against what background. So the vision, as I said, mission is the save the next victim. And we continue to look up to this. Have a look at this. Now you are entering the prison. We started a bakery unit inside the prison, which provides crores of rupees of welfare fund today, because it provides bread to 12,000 inmates. Bread which is sold by the bread unit. So that was the India vision. It came from the award money which we set up. And they get fresh bread and the namkeens. Now they're called TJ Special. They could have been called India Vision Foundation Special, but they changed the name to TJ Special. Tihar Jail Special. This was our first newsletter. And this is our look into the prison. See, the monsters are no more with their mothers. They are in a school. Yeah, so we are now on annual day celebrations where even Dr. Kalam came. And this is one of our child. Remember, children, small children? These are those grown-up children now. So you're going to see age picking up with these teenagers. This was Dr. Kalam's visit. We have also then, who became the king of Bhutan, also came for certain events. And then we also have Panditji. We did a book release there. Then we have a great book called Fateh. This has been written by the inmates, women who've grown up, boys and girls who've grown up, telling their own stories in their own handwriting. This is a book called Fateh, Triumph Over Tragedy. This is a combined book written first hand and in handwriting. We didn't go in for typing because you would have never believed it. We asked them to write it in their own handwriting. So children have written this book in their own handwriting as you flip through the pages. So this is a news clip of how we celebrated 25 years. This is exactly that. These are the areas, impact of 2022. In just 1 year, we would, and imagine we've done 27 years now. In just 1 year, our reach has been 1,86,551 in the areas of programs, rehabilitation, creche inside, children of vulnerable families, and training of prison officials. Our reach from the India Vision Foundation through this team, as you said, each one of them is heading some unit themselves, where there's rehab, reintegration, inside prisons, vulnerable families, the children of vulnerable, the school. So this is how the larger reach, this is on an average the reach was. Now we've also received a wonderful award which has been recognized. This is the team, first international collaboration with Maldives officials, as we've almost reached the latest. Is the strength of this country. Friends, it's unparalleled. I've had international conferences on prisons. They've heard the meditation program, they heard our education, and zero cost to the government. Can you imagine a program? Why was it zero cost? Because there was no budget for reforms. It was British written manual, and British manual was only punitive till they made a new law. But even now, there are not many teachers, but we had 10,000 people studying inside the prison, making them, many of them came with thumb impressions, and on going, wrote their name, and took their school bags with them to show it to their children that they studied here. This totally eliminated riots, communal problems. I didn't have a single riot during my time because of the feedback box. And the feedback box is a new practice which doesn't exist anywhere in the country, in the world, where there's an open feedback box directly to the hierarchy, to the top. And any prisoner could write anything. And they wrote. And the book, It's Always Possible, has a chapter called the feedback box, the petition box, the pulse. It told you everything. As Inspector General, I exactly knew what was happening. I could go about and correct it by morning rounds. Again, this is a solution. Today's corruption cannot happen. The news you read about corruption inside the prison cannot happen if they do this. And it doesn't cost you anything. But if the leadership itself is getting involved into conspiracy to make money, then things happen as you read. See, so you might get up to ask, why is it happening? Because these inspector generals are not doing what that team did at that time. If the team does it, it doesn't cost anything. It needs only two reforms. And prison is a state subject. Every prison chooses reforms in its own way. And you need many more NGOs, but all NGOs don't have this inclination also towards prison reforms. And they also need resources. So everything comes back to willingness, and resources, both. And also support. If the prison does not allow you to come, what will you do? It needs permission. And they'll say, no, we're not permitted, you're not safe. Finished. Why did no NGO come before I went? Because they were not being allowed. It's not that they were not there. They were all waiting to go, but their application was not even entertained. No, not my credibility. It's their acceptability. I draw inspiration minute to minute. You are too inspiration. This is an inspiration for me. The fact that you asked for this cause was another turning point for India Vision Foundation. See, for me, I think every call, every happening is an opportunity to do better and contribute better. So there's no one turning point. I think turning point goes from the time Daddy put a racket in my hand and as a 9-year-old said, go play tennis. That was the turning point. See, had he not put me as a young girl on the tennis court at the age of 9 and made me play and play and play and play on, go on playing, that playing brings you so much of character building. You compete, you pray, you practice your stamina, working with the boys, traveling all over the country. See, these are turning points. But turning point is when the parent, you don't even know, and the parent is putting you into the swimming pool saying, go learn diving. You don't even know. Say, mujhe doobne ke liye chhod diya. You know, no, you're going to be a champion. So, turning point is when you are thrown into an opportunity and then you listen to your parents and you trust them and you carry on, the life keeps turning. Thank you all very much. Thank you.